An unprecedented tragedy and humanitarian crisis is unfolding in Gaza following the Israeli bombardment, which has gone on unrelentingly, and it has created a completely new situation and a humanitarian crisis which has already claimed the lives of thousands of Palestinians, many of whom are children. And of course, we see now the collapse of hospitals. We see that food is running out, fuel is running out, electricity has already been stopped. So this is a huge crisis. And as this crisis has unfolded, what has been the response of the international community? I'm afraid the international community hasn't lived up to what it should have done in responding to the plight of the Palestinian people. Western countries simply declared their support for Israel and Israel's right to defend itself, and the US even sent military assistance and 2 aircraft carriers to the eastern Mediterranean. Well, on the other hand, Muslim countries, of course, condemned the Israeli actions, but so far they have done little other than issue statements, strong statements albeit, but statements of denunciation. But actually, it was really the responsibility of the UN Security Council, and it is the Council that has failed to live up to its responsibility for the maintenance of international peace and security. It is, after all, the world's key world body that is responsible for doing this and bringing the fighting to an end. But what we've seen is 2 meetings of the Security Council, one on the 8th of October and another on the 13th, followed by a vote on the 16th. But these meetings have not produced an outcome or any action in terms of getting a ceasefire going or ensuring that humanitarian supplies reach Gaza. In fact, we've seen the world community totally divided in the Security Council. When the vote took place on a resolution which was moved by Russia, we saw that this was opposed by the United States as well as the UK and France and some of its other allies like Japan. And on the other hand, the countries that voted for the resolution. And what did the resolution call for? It simply called for a ceasefire and calling for the release of hostages, of course, humanitarian access so that assistance and aid, life-saving aid could go in. But the division in the Security Council meant that this resolution didn't go through. And now we're waiting for a weaker resolution that has been drafted by Brazil, which is right now holding the presidentship of the Security Council. We have to wait and see what this draft resolution produces. Will it still produce a deadlock and a division, or will it lead to some kind of action? But so far, the lack of action from the Security Council, of course, is just adds to the historical injustice that has been done to Palestine. After all, there are countless General Assembly and Security Council resolutions on Palestine, calling for an end to Israeli occupation of Palestine and also asking for a cessation of settler land grabs in land that belongs to the Palestinians. But we've seen non-implementation of these resolutions. So one could say that in a way history continues to repeat itself. But today it repeats itself when the Palestinians are facing such a terrible ordeal and a situation where we don't know how many will survive what is happening in Gaza. Muslim countries, in fact, have been very strongly urging an end to fighting and de-escalation and calling for a ceasefire. But as we have seen, Muslim countries have not gone beyond words. We have to wait and see what happens next, because there is a lot of consultation going on between the heads of Muslim states. For example, Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia has spoken to the Iranian president. There are many other leaders that are in touch with each other. There is an OIC ministerial meeting that is scheduled in the next couple of days, and this is at the urging of Saudi Arabia. So we simply have to wait and see whether any kind of collective action is taken by the Muslim countries acting together rather than individually. But what we've also seen is global popular solidarity being expressed on the streets of Western capitals and Muslim cities, which is unprecedented to my mind. For example, we've seen demonstrations in solidarity with the Palestinians in New York, in London, in countries like Germany, Italy, Norway, Sweden, France, and of course in Muslim countries across the entire Muslim world. We have seen these protests that are pro-Palestinian protests. So I think this is also exerting pressure on governments, both in the West as well as in the Muslim world, to act. Because naturally, those who are watching all of this and watching in horror do wish for action to take place immediately and an immediate ceasefire, so the fighting ends and people who are in such distress are able to get at least the basic minimum of life in the form of assistance, which right now can't even go in until there is a humanitarian corridor. So, I mean, even the United States is now working with the Israelis to ensure that such a humanitarian corridor is available so that assistance can go in. But I'm afraid Western countries have much to answer for, because the positions that they have taken in the last 10, 11 days, they have not been calling for a ceasefire. They have given, it seems, a virtual license to Israel to carry out bombardment of civilian targets in Gaza. The solution to the Israeli-Palestinian long-running conflict is already there. It's been there in the form of UN resolutions that have called for a two-state solution, and importantly, a viable, contiguous, independent, genuinely independent state of Palestine, and an end to settler land grabs. So the solution is there, but we have seen that Israel, instead of implementing or abiding by these UN resolutions, has instead tried to impose a one-state solution and has tried to occupy more and more of Palestinian land. So right now, I think the prospects for a peaceful resolution of this conflict appears to be remote, which is unfortunate. It's tragic, because unless the Palestinian issue is resolved, the Middle East cannot see durable peace and security. It will always be destabilized because of what is at the core of tensions in this region.